So I know I said I wasn't supposed to be making any more video game content for the year, but I'm a liar and I can't be trusted. And I knew this was going to happen. I saw it coming. That all being said, I just finished playing Bow, Path of the Teal Lotus, which is a metroidvania by Squid, and man, I loved it. It moved me. I think we're going to get more DLC that's going to expand upon what's already there because there's a couple of missing story beats, if you will. But I want to talk about it real quick. I don't want to get into a long, elongated discussion. As you guys have been seeing, I've been flexing my writing muscles and showcasing my cerebral horsepower, but I don't always feel like doing that. Sometimes I just want to hit record, yap with no script, no idea where it's going, and let's get into it. So, Bow, Path of the Teal Lotus, I'm not going to keep saying that full name. I'm going to start calling it Bow, is a metroidvania where you play as a Tentai Hana. It is essentially an essence of a kami that blooms within a flower from the celestial realm that comes to fulfill a purpose and a duty. Now, immediately you might be thinking this is some type of Hollow Knight clone. I disagree immediately. I disagree. I think this game is much different than Hollow Knight, though there's an obvious inspiration because I think Hollow Knight is a gauntlet of combat supplemented by difficult platforming challenges. I think the platforming in Hollow Knight, while some areas are difficult, I think it's easier than some Metroidvanias that I've played recently. Like even just a Constance demo, I found what I was doing from a platforming standpoint was much more difficult than anything I had to do in Hollow Knight. I have not completed Silksong yet, so maybe that changes with that game. This game to me is more of a platformer that has combat in it. Maybe similar to like Ori, because Ori is more about running and jumping around doing your Metroidvania thing, but there's combat in it. Though the second game did make the combat a little bit better and more substantial. I like this. I love platformers, and platformers are generally my favorite type of games. Your Marios, your Sonics, your Celestes, whatever the case may be. So the fact that this game was very platform heavy was super cool to me. I also think the visual design of this game and the inspiration it takes from Japanese mythology, folklore, and their history and how it is presented artistically, aesthetically is absolutely stunning and beautiful, and was one of the main reasons why I needed to play this game. And it was on sale, so I bought it and beat it. I didn't really expect to make a video on this game, so I don't have too much footage, but I'm going to start to make sure I just record everything that I'm doing because I never know with me. Gameplay consists of you platforming, getting new abilities, and then revisiting old areas and new areas that were gated by an ability, and then like, it's a Metroidvania, bro. I don't need to explain this part. What I find very interesting about this game is that it's very aerial oriented, and I like that. This is very much a game where I call like the ground is lava, the floor is lava, because anytime Bow hits an enemy or an interactable object, the character glows with a blue aura, meaning you can jump again. So every time you hit something, you can get another jump. And basically, aerial combat is much more proficient and much better than grounded combat. And you're kind of incentivized to stay in the air. And when your combo extends in the air, you have a tea kettle, which is your healing soul-like ability similar to Hollow Knight. It can boil to a boiling point, which allows you to use Darumas. Darumas are basically your spells and abilities, small invulnerability, orbs floating around you, things of that nature. They get stronger when you use them in a boiling state. You can either use tea to heal or use a Daruma. And there's an NPC where it will draw a second eye of your Daruma, awakening its second ability, making it more powerful. And then if you use a two-eyed Daruma in its boiling state, it will awaken its third eye and use its like most powerful version of whatever attack or spell you're doing. The Onomaris, damn it, I can't remember what it's called right now. I'll probably put the text on screen if I mispronounced it. Are like your charms or your badges. Like, oh, every time you hit an enemy, you get an extra jump, or you do twice the damage, but you take twice the damage. Like stuff like that, where you have like very limited slots to equip them. Very well-known stuff. So it's really cool that they kept it Japanese themed and oriented, but its functions are like other things in other games we know about. Your Equinox staff, which is your main weapon, can turn into a bat, into a mochi mallet, into it's a staff and like just do a bunch of stuff. You get like wings, you can fly on wind, you get an air dash, a ground dash with a small invulnerability point at the very beginning. And I found the bosses in this game to be not too challenging. I actually found the hardest parts were areas with a lot of environmental hazards that were surrounded by enemies. But there are so many platforming sections in this game that I think are a decent challenge. I ended up doing pretty much everything in this game. I found all its secrets. I have upgraded my character in every way, shape, or form, but there was one quest similar to the Fragile Flower, I believe it's called in Hollow Knight, called the Fragile Egg Test or quest, where basically in what I consider to be the hardest platforming part of the game, you have to carry it crazy distance and not get touched one time. I did not complete this quest. I looked at the reward and it's not fucking worth it. So I didn't do it. Thus meaning I can't 100% the game. Not that that's something I care to do or do often, but I was just like, well, because I was doing so well, I thought I might as well kind of do that, but it is what it is. There's also a Kabuki, something like that DLC that dropped recently. So after I completed the game, that downloadable content had opened up, but I haven't engaged with it yet, so I don't know if it's good or bad, but I am going to move on to Constance, Wander Stars, and Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and then maybe circle back when more DLC for this game drops. The DLC was free, by the way, which is super dope. I think the story's solid. I like the characters. I like how they basically talk to you with more reverence and respect the more you accomplish. I heard the last boss originally was really bad, but the version that I played cleaned it up and patched it a little bit, and I really enjoyed it, though the boss fights in this game were not my favorite parts of the game, and I thought the last boss fight was totally fine. I think the game ends really well. It's just weird because there was this one piece of story content that's kind of alluded to about the goddess Amaterasu that doesn't really pan out. And I'm certain it's going to be DLC to kind of finish off the game, but I feel like the game sort of devs should have told you that. Maybe they tweeted it out or on a Discord. This is common knowledge. But the game itself, from at least what I did, and I pretty much did everything, did not let me know that like I couldn't find the 3 imperial regalias of Japan to like be Amaterasu's vassal or whatever the case may be. I had a great time. This is definitely one of my favorite all-time Metroidvania games, up there with like Hollow Knight. I actually do like Guacamelee. Metroid Dread is really good. But side note, if you are playing a Castlevania game or Metroid game, stop calling it a Metroidvania. Where the fuck do you think the term comes from? It's the smallest nitpick that pisses me off. Because as of this video, Metroid Prime is in the like cultural zeitgeist with like the gaming community. And I'm just like, why do y'all keep calling it a Metroidvania? I get it. But it's like, it's Metroid. Metroid in the Metroidvania name comes from Metroid. Jesus. I like Bo as the main character. He actually does remind me of the Knight a little bit because the Knight was like an experiment that had a role to fill that doesn't really emote too much, and you're kind of like a celestial being that came to a strange garden with a goal in mind, and you kind of just fulfill it without really fighting against it or being like, what about my free will? And like none of that happens. But I had a blast with the game. There's much better reviews out there about this. I just kind of wanted to yap about it because I'm like, wow, it's so beautiful, it's so fun. I like the music. I love the Japanese folklore, Japanese themed aesthetics behind everything. I like the fact that there is a huge platforming emphasis over combat, but I do have one humongous criticism, I'd say. Maybe it's a nitpick. It needs either more shortcuts to get to places of interest or better fast travel locations. Because so many of these platforming sections are like, you have to get there perfectly without touching a spike, or the screen fades to black and brings you back to a certain point when you were on the ground. Just having to retread ground can be really annoying because you have to consistently redo a lot of difficult or at least platforming segments in which you cannot make any mistakes, and that's rather annoying in my opinion. I would change that. That's my biggest issue. again, from what I know, the last boss was a major criticism. I think that's been fixed, and then let the game know, or people know who are playing the game, that the Amaterasu stuff, I guess, can't be done now, unless maybe none of us have figured it out and it's there in the game somewhere. The map is big, it's nice. I really like Sakura City. I like how you upgrade yourself in the city. It's not too difficult, and I do like that you kind of bounce around. Like, you might find an ability in like Midori Garden, and you can't actually go any further in Midori Garden, meaning you have to go to the Megumi Mountains, explore there as much as you can, get ability gated, then come back with a new ability to Midori Garden and continue. I think that was really fly. And I think the game is charming, it's funny, it's pretty witty. I do think some of the stuff is I will say this, with the bad guy, it was a lot of tell don't show, or the main antagonist. I did feel their presence. I did feel like they were like the antagonists of the game from the get-go, but I think you could have showcased them a bit more, so it's kind of not jarring for people who didn't go above and beyond to maybe read all the scrolls and things of that nature. But cool game. Shout out to Squid Studios. I heard Humble Games went down and it put them in trouble. I hope they're doing okay, but yeah, I loved it. I can't wait to play Constance now, because honestly, if you know, you know, this was a really good year for Metroidvanias. Y'all be safe.